Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Annabelle and God bless you all so much for subscribing to my channel and for coming back to watch my videos. God bless you. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the bandwagon effect. So I know some of us, probably all of us, know what a bandwagon is, right? I'm assuming. But yeah, so the bandwagon effect, that's what I'm going to be talking about today, and I'm just going to give a quick definition on what it is and then we'll get into it. All right, so it says that the bandwagon effect refers to the tendency that people have to adopt a certain behavior, style, or attitude simply because everyone else is doing it. Does it sound familiar? All right, so yeah, so that's the definition. So yeah, basically, you know, the expression or the phrase jumping on the bandwagon is basically kind of like doing what everyone else is doing just because everyone else is doing it. And I've been feeling like lately that's kind of how things are going, you know, like people are doing things because everyone else is doing it. And you know, sometimes if you're not careful, you may even find yourself doing something even though you may know that it's wrong, but you're doing it because that's kind of like the trend at the moment. And that's mainly what I want to talk about. And I think the bandwagon effect is quite worrying because I've since last year especially, I've noticed that it can be so easy for people to kind of like post about certain things on social media just because that's like the current thing at the moment, even if it's something that they may not agree with, or even if it's something that they don't know much about. They will kind of just like go along with it because that's what everyone else is doing, or because that's just what's kind of like famous or trending at the moment. And sometimes it can be good, but I feel like most of the time it can be quite worrying, especially if you, the individual, it's not really something that you agree with, or it's not something that sits right with you, but then you go along with it because you feel the need to kind of, you know, be in the it crowd. Or yeah, so I think it can be quite worrying, especially when we feel the need to just jump on from one trend to the other. And as we all know, trends nowadays just, they kind of come and go so quickly that it's crazy. Like one day something will be on and the next day that's not it anymore. There's a new thing that we're talking about now, or there's a new social issue that we're jumping on right now, or there's just something new almost every day, maybe even every few hours, literally, like especially on social media. So I'm gonna share some tips on how I kind of make sure that some of the things that I comment on, or some of the things that I talk about, especially on social media and even with my group of friends, I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon, but things that kind of like align with my beliefs and values. So I'm going to share tips on that, and then I'm going to also share some tips on how like you can actually jump on bandwagons successfully because I think that's possible. All right, so the first thing that I normally always look out for, especially when it comes to like trends, especially trends with like social issues, is not to be quick to post anything about it, especially when things are like freshly out. And a really good example that I want to give is when the whole George Floyd issue came out last year. Yeah, I remember when like everybody was posting about it on social media. I personally did not feel the need to post about it, and that doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with people posting about it. I really believe that people posting about it actually kind of got that conversation going, and I really feel like it had a part to play in, you know, how things were dealt with, not even just in America but globally, how things were dealt with, like it being talked about, George Floyd being, and what happened to him being talked about on social media really pushed that conversation forward. But personally, I didn't feel any need to post about it on social media, especially as soon as it happened, when everyone was posting about it. And I think for me, it was because I felt like I didn't know much about what was going on. Like I was seeing like tweets and posts about Black Lives Matter, but I wasn't really sure what was going on. So I felt like I needed to take my time and read about what had happened, and just kind of like, you know, take my time and know what's going on. So I just didn't post anything about it, and I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel anything about it, and I felt like that's my right. The same way that someone has the right to. Oh, that was a fly. Sorry. Yeah. So like I was saying, the same way that someone felt the need to post about it straight away, like, you know, they have the right to do that, and I believe that I had the right to also just kind of like not post anything about it immediately. And for me, one thing that I felt like doing immediately, even though I wasn't going to post about it straight away, one thing that I felt the need to do was to kind of do my own research about it and pray. As a Christian, for me, before I do anything, I pray about it. So I felt led to pray about the whole situation and what was going on, and that's what I did. I prayed about it, and I took my time to read about what was going on and kind of like what I could do to help, and that's what I did. So that's one way that I always kind of deal with like bandwagon effects, especially on social media, like just taking my time to kind of find out what is going on instead of like just straight away jumping into like conversations and feeling the need to contribute to it. And that moves on to my second tip, is I just don't feel like I need to have a say in everything. I don't. Even when it's something that I may know something about, I don't need to say something about everything all the time. I personally don't think my opinion matters in everything. So sometimes there are some trends that will come along, or there are some social issues that will be going on social media, and you know, everybody will be having a say, like everybody will feel the need to say something about it. And personally, sometimes I'm just like, no, I don't need to say anything about this. And I do this because I feel like it's really good for my own well-being, because there are just certain conversations that personally, as an individual, I ignore, because I just know that it's not healthy to go there. And most of the time too, I do that. I don't comment on certain issues because I personally feel like people are still probably not there yet to be open to other people's opinions. So instead of like going in and just be kind of like going head to head with people, I will rather just not say anything about it and be there. Sometimes I won't even go and read like what people are tweeting about or what people are putting up, like writing about it on social media, because I just don't think it's healthy for me personally. So there are just certain conversations that I stay away from, certain social issues that I don't even bother commenting on social media. I may probably engage in conversations about it with my friends, but I won't jump on the bandwagon on social media to comment on it just because everyone is. And most of the time too, I feel like I don't do that because I'm worried about being insulted, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, some people may not be ready to have open conversations about certain things, and I don't feel like I need to still kind of like force myself in there, and then people will say like really harsh things to you just because of a tweet. And you know, social media can be brutal, so yeah, I just stay away from it sometimes. And then thirdly, one other reason that I tend to not jump on certain bandwagons is because I just don't want to neglect my own values and beliefs. So sometimes there may be something going on, there may be a topic that everyone is talking about on social media, or there may be a trend that is really popular, but I take my time and I assess it, and if I feel like it will go against my beliefs and values, or it will cause me to neglect the things that I believe in or the things that I stand for, I stay away from it. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I just kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to go and look at it. No offense, I don't care. And I feel like people should have the right to kind of take that approach. Like if you feel like there are things being talked about on social media, if you feel like there is a trend going on that everyone is kind of jumping on, and it goes against your beliefs and values, cool. Don't say anything about it on social media if you don't want to. You know, don't feel like you have to kind of be in on that conversation just because everyone is talking about it, or just because everyone is going in on that trend, you have to go along with it too. I don't roll with that idea. I just kind of like stay away from it, because I don't want to neglect my own personal values and beliefs. And most of the time too, the people that you're probably going to like jump on that bandwagon with, you don't even know them. You've probably not even met them. You know, it's different if you're talking with people like in real life about something, but on social media it's a completely different scenario. There are people you don't, you know, you may probably never meet, you may probably never see, and it's just all behind a computer, and this person is saying this and this person is saying that. Like, so you don't need to neglect your own values and beliefs just for that. So that's another way that I sometimes stay away from jumping on the bandwagon. And another reason that I always remind myself of for not jumping on the bandwagon, especially on social media, is the fact that I have the capacity and the privilege to make my own mind up about things, to, you know, to think for myself. I see that as a privilege, and I don't want to throw that away just because there's a new trend on the blog, or just because there's a new social issue that everyone feels like they have the best opinion about it, or they have something to say on it. No, I can think for myself. So I just I sit back and I think about it. Is this necessary? Yes. Okay, let me see if my opinion matters. You know, let me see if I can contribute to it somehow positively. If I can do that, and if I feel like I need to do it if it's needed, fine. If it's not, I just take a back seat, you know, and I'm just there in my corner. I don't even bother adding to anything, because sometimes you don't need to add to the conversation. You don't need to add to whatever is being said, and that is okay. I feel like nowadays it comes across like it's a crime when you don't want to comment about certain things, especially like social issues, like when there are things going on, and especially when it's affecting like a group of people that you're part of, or when there's like a collective action going on and you're part of that collective, but you don't want to participate. It becomes like a betrayal or something, like, oh, like, you know, you don't want to comment on this, like you don't want to say anything about that, like, why are you not posting about this? And I'm just like, no, it's not a big deal. And I say it's not a big deal because sometimes and it's actually a positive thing. Like, sometimes there are enough people already doing enough. You know, there are enough people already doing enough, and maybe what you may have to do is just kind of like be there and support the people who are already doing enough. You don't need to add to anything. Of course, there are other times when your opinion will be needed, your voice will be needed, and those times I'm able to you know, think for myself and realize that, yeah, this time my voice is actually needed. Or there are even certain times when you may be called upon to say something, you may be called upon to share your opinion on something. And when those times come, still, you know, take the time to think for yourself and just think, should I take this opportunity to say something about this? Is it needed? If it's needed, fine. If it's not needed, even if someone calls upon you to do that, you can still say no. You can still be like, no, I rather not say anything about this, or I rather not comment on this, and that is okay. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why you should actually sometimes jump on the bandwagon, and why it may be good to do that. So first of all, like, for the right reasons. So sometimes we need to jump on the bandwagon for the right reasons. For example, when it's actually to get something done, when it's to bring about a positive change in society, you need to get on that bandwagon. And I remember some time ago, there was like an issue going on social media, and like, what was it? Yeah, I remember like there was a case in the UK about like a missing person, and I remember the police were not reporting about it enough. And I remember reading about it on social media, and I was like, yeah, there's actually not anything. I haven't seen anything about this person being missing on the news or anything like that. And I kind of went like, yeah, I need to, you know, I remember people were tweeting at the Met police to, you know, do something about it, like increase increase how they're announcing about it, so that people would know what's going on. People would know what to do in terms of like I guess people just wanted to be updated on the person, whether they've been found, and it was actually quite worrying for everyone, I guess, and obviously for the person's family. So I remember I tweeted as well about it, and with that I felt like there were not enough people doing that, and I tweeted at it as well. So there are times when it is for the right reasons, and you have to, you know, if you want to, you don't have to. If you want to jump on a bandwagon with that, you have to just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and not just because everyone else is doing it. And then secondly, I mentioned it previously, but just to realize that it's actually going to bring about a change, and it doesn't have to be like a huge change, but even sometimes it can bring about a change in your own self. It can bring about like a self change for you, like you'll realize something in yourself by jumping on a bandwagon. And I guess an example of that would be kind of like opening yourself up to listening to something, or to listening to someone explaining something, to listening to someone's experience on something. Like sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll just watch videos of people talking about the same topic, different people talking about the same topic, and I feel like that's like a bandwagon that I don't mind jumping on, because, you know, different people have different experiences, and it's always good to hear, you know, different accounts of things, just to kind of like find out how people have experienced that issue and how they dealt with it. You know, it can bring about a new way of you dealing with things. You can learn something new about yourself. So yeah, so making sure that it's for the right reasons, and also being able to bring about a positive change in you and in others as well. So yeah, that is the bandwagon effect. And I know that it's quite how do I even say it? It's quite a touchy subject, I guess. It is for me, because I feel like sometimes it can be quite awkward to kind of tell people not to do something, or even like on social media, like when there are things going on and everyone is doing it, and then you're the only person not doing it, you probably feel like the odd one out. But please don't feel like the odd one out. If it, like I mentioned earlier, if it's something that sits right with you, if it's something that, you know, aligns with your beliefs and values, then yeah, go along with it. Or if it's something that you feel like, you know, my voice is needed in this, yeah, jump on it and let your voice be heard in a good way. But I feel like if you don't agree with some of the things that are being said, or even what is being promoted, you don't have to contribute to it. You don't have to say anything about it. You don't have to do anything. You know, you can just scroll along and go, to be honest, because yeah, like regardless of what anyone may say, regardless of how people may try to guilt trip you into saying something, into you know, jumping on the bandwagon just because everyone is, you don't have to do it. You really don't. Like my kind of like way of kind of dealing with some of these bandwagon stuff on social media is just always kind of thinking about my well-being, because no one is going to come from the social media to kind of come and ask you, oh, are you okay? Like after you made that comment, are you okay? So sometimes if it's not needed, just relax and don't feel the need to comment about it. It's all right. Okay, I hope this video helps someone. Like, you can comment below if there are any bandwagons that you've jumped on in the past that you were like, why did I even comment about that? Or maybe there have been like something that you've commented on social media, and then later on you were like, yeah, I don't even agree with the comment that I made anymore. And that's another thing that's okay. You know, you can make a comment and then later on learn, you know, gain more information about it and not even agree with what you said in the first place. So yeah, comment below what you thought about this video and what you learned from it, and I will see you in the next one.